Hello, welcome to our webinar. My name is Lana and I'm CEO and founder of Forensics. I would like to invite you and to give a word to our speaker, Serge, who is biometric expert and who is fully involved in biometric system implementation in different industries with the big IT expertise on a global level. Serge, the stage is yours. Dear participants, please don't forget to use Q&A button and ask your questions. Feel free. Thank you.
Thanks, Lana. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and warm greetings from a very cold Melbourne, Australia. We'll start, and this webinar will take us probably 30 minutes. We'll start with some company's introduction, and we'll then speak about what exactly is making the industry really different today. We'll then move to the new generation of attacks. We'll discuss different types of attacks and how we can detect these attacks. We'll then slightly transition to a dilemma of active versus passive liveness, because this is something that a lot of companies globally are really concerned. And we'll then talk about the client acquisition versus risk. And we'll have some very exciting videos where we will showcase the real attacks and how we detect them. And then we'll discuss some other topics around what needs to be done in terms of searching for a proper liveness solution. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. And we'll then start with the introductions. So we are Oz Forensics, and we are headquartered in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. However, we have employees scattered across the globe. Like myself, I'm based in Melbourne in Australia. And we are specializing in fraud prevention, which means liveness and biometry. But we're not just producing and selling software, we are consulting a lot of clients coming from different geographies and different industry backgrounds with respect to how to choose a proper liveness solution. And this is what we're going to discuss today. And from the clientele's perspective, we have fintech and public sectors, which are basically the predominant players on this on the liveness and biometry markets. However, we do have a lot of clients from the TNA, time and attendance space, KYC providers, transportation companies, mining industry players, etc., etc. So we have a great deal of knowledge across various industries. And needless to say that we are certified with NIST and their laboratory called IBETA for level 1 and level 2 ISO 30107-3. And with this being said, let's transition to the industry and what makes the industry really different today. And when I say industry, it's not just liveness industry, it's just a generic industry. And there are some things that have happened quite recently, which makes the industry as a whole really different from, what it used to be 2 years ago. Well, number one, the post-COVID era. 2 or 3 years ago, we couldn't have imagined of what would happen today. And during the pandemic, like in Australia, we were in isolation for almost 2 years. And I got used to, ordering groceries online, doing shopping online, and mostly doing my banking online. And now that the COVID is sort of over and all the restrictions are lifted, I no longer want to go to the office or to the branch to, order a new credit card or apply for a loan. I am used to doing that remotely. And not just myself, billions of people across multiple countries are used to do their banking remotely, right? And this is what makes the industry absolutely different from what it used to be. Second of all is the global biometric regulation, which is updating and changing daily. And I'm speaking of GDPR in Europe, which is General Data Protection Regulation, as well as some other bits and pieces of global legislation, which is now being more and more concise and precise. Now, the local laws for biometric security as well as personal data protection are also in play, and they are constantly evolving and and changing. Like in Indonesia, for instance, the Personal Data Protection Act, which was passed in September 2022. In the Philippines, we know that the government is paying a lot of attention towards data protection and digital banking. Some updates to data protection legislation in Qatar, et cetera, So the world is not static, and different states and different governments are introducing more and more advanced legislation, which is great because all of us now know the rules, and the more precise the rules are, the easier for us, whether banks or financial institutions or biometric providers or anyone else, it's easy for us to play and do business. Now, not so bright side of all these things is the constantly increasing biometric fraud. Now that everyone gone online and we do our banking online, a lot of fraudsters are trying to hack our money, hack the systems, and get use of that. Now, let's have a look and deep dive into the fraud side of things and how the attacks are looking like. Now, the industry standard, which is ISO 30107-3, recognizes three types of presentation attacks, or three levels. The level one is the print or video, and it costs an imposter up to $30 to prepare such an attack. It's very simplistic, but it's very widespread. The level two represents some basic masks, and it may cost an imposter up to $300 to produce or purchase a mask and try to spoof the system. Whereas level three is represented by very high quality masks, which might cost a fraudster up to $3,000. And these are the today's attacks, which a lot of companies globally, irrespective to their industry background, are facing daily. Now, our statistics show that the print and reply, the most simplistic ones, are making up almost 99% of all the attacks which are being carried out currently. Now, the masks, inclusive of 3Ds, are maybe less than 1%. And you may ask a question, well, does it mean that we will not ever face an attack with a mask? Not at all. You have the risk of having all three types of presentation attacks. Well, it depends, of course, on your business and the nature of your business. If you are a microfinance organization, well, probably you will be more facing, those cheap prints and replies. And if you are a bank giving out some home loans or mortgages, then probably 3Ds is something that you will see more often. But in all the cases, you will be exposed to all three types of attacks. And these are the general attacks. Now, there is also the new generation of attacks, which was the future yesterday, but today it's the grim reality, and these new attacks or types of attacks are happening more and more often. Now, with the new generation of attacks, it is really possible to deploy deepfake videos straight into the application, evading all verifications. Now, a deepfake is really hard to detect by a human eye, and even not all the algorithms can detect it either. Now, they can also use the emulators to hack the mobile application. So these are the new types of attacks, in addition to the classic attacks. And let's have a look at a snap camera attack and how we can detect that sort of a new generation of attacks.
Hi, my name is Ivan Kryachko. I'm from Oz Forensics team. I'm going to show you how our liveness detection works with deepfakes or virtual cameras. Let's start with active liveness right now with my camera and face. Now I need to smile. That is easy. You can see that the result of the test is correct. Let's check the result in our dashboard. I was not attacking, and that is why the score is very low. Low scores mean that the face is original and this is not spoofing attack. Now I'm going to attack the camera with a spoofing tool and a deepfake face. I'm going to do that with a snap camera. You can use whatever you like. Let's use active liveness now. You can see that smiling is not a problem with the spoofing tool, which allows you to replicate any gesture. But our Liveness detects spoofing anyway. Let's check the result in our dashboard. And now you see that spoofing attack has high score. That means that attack was declined correctly. Try different spoofing and deepfake attacks on our demo page and rate the quality of our solution by yourself.
So this was a very quick video just showing some of those new generation of attacks. And now that we've discussed some of those attacks, and we'll get back to this topic a little bit later, let's probably transition to another dilemma, which is more and more important for a lot of clients globally. And that's a dilemma of active versus passive liveness. Now, a lot of companies are approaching us forensics asking this question, which type of liveness is the best one, or which type of liveness we should utilize. Now, there are pros and cons around both models, active and passive, and probably let's drill down a little bit into each of them. We'll start with active. Now, an active liveness means that your client or an end user will be asked to make some action or a gesture during the video capture. And the upside of this is that every action or every gesture means the consent. And this consent can be later on used in some possible, litigation or any dispute resolution in the court, etc. Now, the downside of active liveness is that it does increase the client journey, and it does increase it up to 5 seconds. And it lowers the conversion. Our statistics show that from 5 to 10% of clients either do not want or cannot make a gesture. So that means that you will receive the lower conversion. Now, the passive liveness is very straightforward. It does have one process, which means one shot, and it takes up to 1 second, just a second, to complete the verification. And it does keep conversion as there is no activity, no action, no consent, etc. So that's the clear upside. The downside is also very clear, though. There is no consent as there is no action. So if you want to use your liveness checks and the results of your liveness checks for future reference in case of any potential disputes or dispute resolutions, court activities, etc., then probably active liveness is the best choice for you. If you want to have a very quick check and keep the conversion at the highest level, then probably the passive liveness is the best option. But by saying that, I can only offer you to reach out to us and have a meaningful discussion so we can definitely, scan your requirements and come up with the best possible option. Now, to go into more details, active versus passive liveness trends, our statistics show that active liveness it does make up just 9.2% of the total amount of liveness checks. Passive liveness is almost 91%. That active liveness portion is increasing, though, and it does represent the movement in the market, right? So the market is evolving and it is becoming more and more sophisticated, so more and more companies would like to have active liveness. Now, from the SDK usage perspective, it's almost half-half. So the web SDK is 52.4%, whereas mobile SDK is slightly less. But we can also see some tendency towards the increase in mobile SDK usage, which is fair enough because more and more companies, especially banks, are introducing mobile applications and they want the liveness to be part of their mobile application experience. From the on-premise and software as a service perspective, it's 50-50. 50% of our clients would be using clouds, whereas the rest 50 would be using the on-premise implementation. And there is a very interesting stat here, and it does not necessarily correspond with active versus passive, but I thought it would be very interesting to share these statistics as well. So only 30% of our clients would be purchasing liveness and biometry. whereas 70%, the vast majority, would be just going with liveness. And the reason is very clear. A lot of governments throughout the globe are producing and coming up with their own government-based biometry standards and biometry solutions. This is why the biometry is coming more and more often from the government end, and the liveness is becoming more and more important. That's why 70% of our clients are focusing on liveness. And a lot of our clients are asking us the question, do you have any vision of the future and how the future will look like in 5 years or 10 years from now? Now, we have several thoughts and ideas around how the future can look like. And the first one is the dilemma of whether to store or not to store the data. And it partly brings us back to the dilemma of active versus passive liveness. Now, the data storage is very important, and it does represent an evidence database. However, it does have data security risks. A lot of data is just leaking, and hackers are not sitting still, and they can hack the data at any single point in time, which happens almost every day. Now, if we don't store the data, we are 100% reliant on technology, as you know, there is no data, there is no evidence, there is no proof in the court. The digital court or the digital arbitrage is yet another thing which will come up globally pretty soon, right? Because a lot of biometry and liveness checks, which are happening daily, hundreds of thousands of them globally, you know, maybe millions, there will be a time when, you know, there will be a government or, you know, cross-government arbitrage body established to, you know, review all the disputable cases. And that does not only involve the deepfakes, it can involve pretty much any type of attacks. There will be a jury or you know, court body which will render verdicts in all the disputable cases around liveness and biometry checks. But this body should be able to 100% clearly detect all the deepfakes, which refers to my previous points when I said that it's really hard for a human eye to detect a deepfake. So the governments are not sitting still, and they are producing their own systems which are capable of verifying the deepfakes, which do not compete with commercial systems, they complement them. So the question is how these will work, and the time will tell. We'll see it soon. Now, going back to the new generation of attacks, how can a scammer hack the biometric authentication? In the previous video, we saw how the snap camera works. Now let's have a look at a more sophisticated scenario. And now I will introduce you to our Chief Product Officer, who will showcase you a really sophisticated attack and how a modern liveness detection system can save your money and your company from this type of attack.
Okay, let's take a moment and talk about presentation attacks as opposed to injection attacks. Remember those levels 1, 2, and 3 in ISO standards. They define different types of attacks, like paper masks, like this demonstration of someone's photo from electronic devices, or maybe even silicone masks that you can put on. All these attacks have a common feature because you present something into the camera. That's why these attacks are called presentation attacks. On the other hand, we have injection attacks, which are actually not even covered by that ISO standards. They work differently. In injection attacks, an imposter either entirely bypasses whatever comes from physical camera, or somehow manipulates this video stream to make it look like something else. In one of our early videos, we demonstrated how to make an injection attack with the aid of virtual camera, with the aid of software. In this video, I will demonstrate even more complex injection attack. We will use additional hardware to replace a stream that comes from physical camera. But let's start with making sure that our system works properly and accepts real user. The system asks me to smile. Okay, we see that the system operates properly. Now it's time to make an attack. Note that for my first attempt, I was using an external HD camera. For an attack, I replace this camera with something different. This is capture card that you can buy on the market easily. There are cheaper ones like $15. There are more expensive ones like 100 or maybe more. They are used by gamers, streamers to record a video from one computer without using resources of this computer. So we will be using it in the same manner. We will transmit video stream from generated on this computer, on this additional computer, through our capture card into my laptop. And my laptop sees this capture card as a regular, just a normal external HD camera. On this computer, we have a deepfake generator that turns me into Elon Musk, as you can see here. Okay, so let's do an attack. It will be a little bit more difficult for me. Okay, as you can see, the system was able to detect that this was an attack. And now just a couple of words about how the system achieves it. There are two layers of protection. One layer works within this browser, and it checks for different aspects of user environment. It would be able to detect an attack done by virtual camera, as I mentioned before. But for this particular attempt, the first layer of protection could probably miss this attack. And for these cases, we have second level of protection, which works on the server side and consists of machine learning models. These machine learning models look for traces of digital manipulation, of deepfake generation, or of transformation done by this capture card. And thus the system could detect this type of attack as well. That's what I wanted to show you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a great and very exciting video, and it does show the very new generation type of sophisticated attacks. Now that we've discussed the attacks and we've discussed the active versus passive liveness, let's have a look at some other complexities around choosing a liveness solution. And a lot of our clients are coming to us and approaching us daily with their requirements. And I thought it would be great to share what we think is most important for you in order to choose the right liveness solution. Now, a lot of clients are approaching us with unclear expectations, which means that before you start the journey and before you start looking for a liveness solution, you should ask yourself a question: what do you want to achieve? Just write down some bullet points in order how the future, the ideal future, should look like for you, and pass that information across to us. Then we can definitely work with that. Now, the second point is robustness. A lot of solutions available in the market are not ISO certified, so you don't know what sort of solution you will be working with. And you should also be aware of the camera spoofing detection capability. The Liveness solution should be capable of detecting the camera spoofing. Flexibility in the solution is also an issue for a lot of our clients. A lot of Liveness providers are either providing the server-based Liveness or sometimes on-device Liveness. However, a Liveness provider should provide both server-based and on-device, because server-based and on-device are not competition to each other. They do complement each other. And that provides a lot of flexibility to you, as you can use on-device for one scenario and service-based Liveness solution for another scenario. And that provides a lot of flexibility and benefits to you. Now, there are also some difficulties using the interface. A lot of Liveness solutions don't have intuitive interface. As you could see on the video, the intuitive interface is very important, especially for those end users who are not tech savvy or who don't understand the technology, the aged population, etc. They need to be able to pass the verification without any hurdles or issues. And multiple SDKs as well, right? The mobile SDK as well as web SDK, all of those should be part of the Liveness solution. Now, weak SLAs and lack of tech support. Again, you don't want to be dealing with a company that does not provide SLAs or, service level agreement, and as well as tech support. Look at those SLAs and tech support if you want to choose a proper and really good Liveness solution. And last but not least, the scalability. As your business grows, your Liveness solution should grow together with the business, right? So how fast do you want to increase that server capacity? How can the Liveness solution keep up with your business growth? You should be able to think about these questions, and once these questions are answered, you will get the proper Liveness solution. And we are getting very close to the end of this webinar. So just to answer the question, how can we help? Well, that's very simple. First of all, talk to us. We have a great deal of knowledge and expertise in different areas, in different aspects of Liveness. We know different industries and different geographies. So just speak to us and we will be able to share our experience and provide you with a lot of insights and information. If you are happy with that, then just test with us. That's free of charge, and you can test both on-device and server-based Liveness solution. You can pretty much understand and try to spoof the system yourself. Once you are happy with that, then just proof with us. We will support you, and our tech experts will assist you with your POC, and we will be able to organize that POC so it suits your needs, your requirements, and your timelines. And then, you will have a great Liveness solution which will meet and exceed your today's and tomorrow's expectations. And now that's the time for questions, and I will pass it back to Lana, as hopefully there are some questions that we will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Serge. Yes, we do have some questions, and let's start from the first one. The question is about the architecture. I suppose that Yuri could answer this question. What architecture and functionality do you recommend? We have developed a mobile application for Android, and we expect about 20,000 applications per month. Yuri, could you please join us?
Yep. I believe the question is about the architecture. So, yeah, you have two options. First of all, you do need to use our existing native Android and probably iOS SDK, which you embed into your application to implement the interface, that interaction between mobile phone and the user that Serge talked about. This you need to do in both cases. And then you can choose between on-device liveness analysis or server-side analysis. In first case, it will be faster for a user, no data transmission, no nothing. This is more lightweight process. On the other hand, if you choose to use server-side Liveness, you have access, you can use more resources on the server side, and of course, in this case, achieve a higher degree of liveness accuracy. In this case, from architectural point of view, you will need to have our modules on the back end as well, and you will need to implement transmission of the data from client side to backend. You can do either using our SDK, or if you prefer so, you can do this via your own backend. This depends on your particular objectives. Actually, for more details, I suggest that you talk to us, explain your needs in more details, and we'll help you to choose particular architecture.
Thank you, Yuri. The next question is about how do you think, based on what you present, could you please share your forecast? Will the level 1 text be replaced by deepfakes?
And that's a very good question. Well, the short answer is no. Both types of attacks will be living together. Unfortunately, we will be facing both the old style presentation attacks as well as the deepfakes. So we should be ready to face and detect and fight both types of attacks. And this is what we're doing at OS Forensics.
Well, thank you. Dear participants, you are welcome to ask your question and talk to our speaker. Could you please be active? Well, we do have another question. As we see, the attackers are developing new methods of spoofing. Does it mean that we need to upgrade our liveness solution, which we already implemented in our organization, or purchase a new one every year?
Oof. No, you should not, but you should be able to find a solution provider which is constantly upgrading their liveness solution. So the liveness solution should evolve each day and meet and exceed the expectations with respect to all possible liveness attacks. Very short answer.
While we are waiting questions coming out, so there is one more. Okay, we are retail banking with operations across several countries. What is the best way to acquire liveness solution for big players like us? Do we need to research for a vendor in each country, or is it there possible to scale the solution across all of the countries? What the implication would be in this case?
Yet another very good question. Well, the answer is that a liveness solution should be scalable, right? So the liveness solution should work across multiple countries, and this is pretty easy to achieve. Another question is the country's legislation. So if you are about to enter new markets or place liveness or biometric solution into new places, new markets, new countries, then you should be very carefully reviewing the country's legislation. Some countries do have data protection legislation in place, which makes it really easy to sort of play. Other countries have less clarity around data protection. So it's up to the country's legislation, not up to the system. The system is capable of being scaled up to multiple countries.
Thank you. Okay, another one. We provide an attendance solution for companies. Do you offer technology partnership so we can use your liveness component in our solution?
Yes, absolutely. You can visit our website at www.osforensics.com, and there is a page called Partnerships. There is plenty of information there, and we are very, very appreciative if you could visit the page, leave your contact details. We are definitely open for partnerships with various technology companies, and we're looking forward to speaking to you.
Thank you. While we are waiting for some more questions, I would like to suggest to go through the poll. That would be great to have your answers there, and we will be glad to continue with your questions. Please be active. Thank you. Thank you so much. We do have one more question. Due to some reasons, there are lack of internet or even lack of resources. And in that case, we would be interested to offer our clients on-device liveness. Could you please tell more about it?
Well, definitely. The upside of on-device is that there is no requirements for a stable or good internet connection or mobile coverage, as the check or the verification is happening exactly on the device. So the data is not being sent to the server in this particular instance. And we do have a lot of clients. In Southeast Asia, in India, who are basically using the on-device option for some specific reasons, especially outside of big cities or towns where the internet connection is not stable. Then for those reasons, the on-device would be the perfect choice. Now, as to my previous point, on-device can be combined with server-based solution. So you can use server-based in those cases where you need the data to be stored, and you can complement it with on-device in rural areas where, you know, the data is not that important, but the speed of verification and, you know, the remoteness and stability is a must. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much. It seems that it was our last question. So dear participants, you are still welcome to talk to our expert. We are waiting for your more questions.
Yes, and just by the way, there's my email address on the page. As you can see, please don't hesitate. If you have any questions, you might have some questions later on, please don't hesitate to send me a quick email, and I'll be more than happy to answer and provide some assistance, as well as I'm, you know, available on the messengers like Telegram or WhatsApp, so we can definitely set up a quick chat.
Yeah, my deep recommendation to contact the search if you think that your question seems more focused and for your own projects and your own business needs, and you wouldn't like to open these questions for all of the attendees, you're welcome to set a call with search and discuss it and to take advices from him. We will be more happy to help.
Thank you very much.
Wow, good. Thank you all participants, and thank you speakers for this wonderful webinar. We welcome you to keep with us on our website and together with our speakers. And we will be glad if you will come for more topics that we soon will be ready to announce from the technological point of view, as well as from business. Thank you, Serge. Thank you, Yuri. Thank you, all the participants. We wish you a pleasant day and goodbye.